Okay, I'm going to work on this inner primary. Got gun running the air compressor up and pressure, so I get some air pressure now. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to sleeve this bearing hole in this inner primary. It's got early FXR here we're playing with earlier. Early 84 on back, or at least 83 on back. So these holes here are badly machined. They're always machined loose for some reason. And the bearings get loose in there and they just eat themselves up and become looser, and they leak because there's no seal. No provision for a seal. So this is a brand new bearing here. That does not seal very well. We Loctite that sucker in there and it still just breaks itself free and leaks. And there's no room in here for a seal because everything's too close on this early setup. So these are -79 primary covers. So the castings are the same. This one's a 73A cover there. All those dots and dits and stuff there tells you what year it was made, I guess. Month, day, time, who knows. Now, just because they're all the same casting does not make them all the same. It's how you machine them that determines what year it really is. And I'm not sure the difference between the 79, 80, 81, 82, and 83. I just know this one's an 83 bike. And as far as I know, these are all the same how they're done. This is made for the enclosed chain. It's supposed to have oil in here, so they didn't care about leakage. When they eliminated the enclosed chain in 84, they decided they wanted to improve things a little bit. So maybe they did it in 85, who knows. All I know is they went to a different clutch in late 84. So they changed everything anyway. Harley was making 2 and 3 changes a year all through this time frame, so I don't know exactly what they did because every time you take a bike apart it's different. Okay, so basically we're going to make a sleeve to go in here. I'm going to leave the lip here on the back side because our clutch is really tight up in here as far as I can tell. Very little clearance, so I'm not going to play with that. And I'm not sure how thick a material we have to work with there, but it feels about the same on both sides. But feeling and being is two different things. So we're going to measure it. Always measure. If you measure stuff, then you know you might be halfway close when you're done. If you don't measure it, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Alright, I'll put that up a little bit higher where you might be able to see better. Okay, first thing I do is measure the OD of the casting. See what we got. Okay, the big OD is 3.530. Let's see, I have to turn this one this way. Big OD, 3.560. 540. Okay. Now we're going to measure the smaller one that actually matters to what we're doing here. Excuse me. Push it up a little bit higher. Get a little bit better idea of what we're actually looking at over here. And we'll blow it up just a little bit too. Okay, so now we're going to measure this OD here. Around 2.3 inches, give or take a little. Inside of this one, so we are bigger. 2.460, 100 thou more to work with on this side. Okay, so that's good. It means we got some material, but not a lot. Now you want to know how much material you got to work with? You measure the wall right there. You got 200 thousandths, or 218 on that side. 180 over here, 179, 206, 215. Alright, so our thinnest point is right here, 170 thousandths. Okay, so that's our thin point. So, how much of a wall are we going to make this We only have 170 total to work with. That's aluminum, this is steel. You usually want to try to keep at least 2/3 of your material out of the original material, only 1/3 out of the new stuff. So if you go on that theory, you got 180, that's 70. Yeah. Shit. My mouse today. A 60 thou wall is what even numbers would be. So that means you're looking at probably 50 wall on your steel sleeve would be your absolute thickest you really want to run. So that leaves you only 70 for the other side, which is pretty thin on the out here. But we do have more material and get in there deeper, so I can live with it being a little bit thinner. So I think we're okay on that part. And this is all in thick material through here, except for right here at the very tip. And that's where it's going to get thin, is right here at the tip. And that's where it will break. Right in here is our thin point. Right here. Back it up a little bit. So this is our thin point, because see, this is cut out. There's a lip on the back side here. So we have a lot less material here. So that was what, I forgot what the number is already. .3. Minus whatever this is. So we'll zero that out. So we got 300 thou over here. So we got 150 wall. That doesn't leave a lot. 150 divided by 3 is only 50 wall. So it's probably best to be at 50 wall and not 60 wall, because you're going to make it real thin on the back side, and this lip can break off. We do have a lot of press further in there, right in the middle, but the middle is probably only about that thick in the middle, so not much to gain on it. Okay, so I think we're going to keep this thing probably about 50 wall, the sleeve we make, and that'll give us something to go by. Now when I put this on the transmission, this thing has dowels in it, but the problem is that's a dowel there, is it flops around so much because everything's so loose. There's no real indication where this is supposed to be. So you got probably a 10 thou float and all this stuff, or at least 5. So we know this is warm, but we don't know how much. I'm assuming it's pretty round, but I'm going to go ahead and dial indicate it in, get an idea of how round that is, and then that'll all determine what I think we're going to do. Now, most of the wear on this is going to be front to rear, not up to down, because the load of the crank, the primary chain's pulling this way and the rear wheel's pulling that way. So it's trying to do one of these deals in here. That's what it's trying to do. So chances are this is probably worn fairly evenly. It might be a little bit tighter this way than this way, but the center line wouldn't change. As long as you equalize all those dimensions, you should be pretty centered. Within probably 5, and we got at least 5 thou float in our dowel. So that means it'll bolt back on after this is in there, because this isn't going to move once I put it in there tight. It'll be tight. Okay, so let's see what we're going to wind up here with. First thing I'm going to do is make sure this is flat. Just to be relatively flat. It's pretty good for one of these. Now, when you start pushing down to hold this down, you cannot push any pressure here in the middle, because it'll go like this and it'll warp. So you want to push on solid areas. So our solid area is on this lip here, because that's all the metal between here and the table. So we can put 2 clamps right here. You can't clamp here because it's going to suck this down, which is going to suck this down. It's going to make it go like that. So I have to come over here and put a clamp right here on the very end down here to hold it in. If you don't do that, you're going to warp your primary. See right here, there's nothing underneath here, so it'll pull down. So if we come up off the lip over here, we got solid material from here down. And instead of putting a lot of pressure on that little thin lip with just one clamp, I'll put a strap across from this side to this side and have the hole down right in the middle here. And that'll put good pressure across this whole front. And you got two back here, and that should hold it pretty damn flat and straight. But we'll indicate it to make sure it's still pretty good condition. I'm going to check the surface on this to make sure this is all flat before we do that hole. Because this is what the transmission is going to see. And we're assuming the transmission is made square. We are assuming a lot, but you know, at some point you do have to do a little bit of that. Okay, so if I put that one in the middle, and I get one of these in the middle. We got dowels in there, so I can't put it exactly centered. Doesn't have to be. And that's our thickest clamp. Right to there. Feel airly. Real small air leak somewhere. I cut it down. Can't hear it now. Alright. Oh, what did I do? I put my stud away. Alright, now if you put pressure here and you're going down flat, this side's not going to lift. It lifted that much. It's about 5 pounds of pressure. That's 5 pounds you don't really want to have, but the primer should be strong enough not to cause a problem with 5 pounds of holding pressure. And the reason we're doing that is because we're pulling on the outside of the lip as it goes over the edge. So it's pulling on the primary a little bit. See, we're pulling right here on this edge over here a little bit on the outside, which is it's teetering off this edge right here a little bit. It's going like just a little bit right there. I don't have a long enough strap to stop that, so we'll have to live with it. Okay, so back here, we're going to go along the outside edge as far as we can to make it more even. Now I could also put a clamp right on this side here. And right here on that one, so that'll give me a little bit more strength, but the problem is you'll make sure you don't put pressure here because it's going to cause it to warp. If I clamp it off right here, the chance of that warping is almost nothing because we're almost straight down at that point. This one here we're going to induce a little bit more of a down like that side there. You can put a little bit of pressure on it. So I'm going to try to come off these edges here without sliding. We'll see how that works. Let's see, where are my hold downs? Try out both my good ones, didn't I? Nope, that was a shit one. Got one good one. Let's see, how high are we going to be over there? Try this one. Pretty high. A little bit shorter one of these. Yep, still feel that. feel it right across my face when I move across that clamp. Okay, so we're going to try the short one here. It's probably too short. Yeah. Yep, not enough. Okay, go through the longer ones here. This has a very thin nose that wants to bend, so I'm going to flip it over and go off to the side. Much stronger. Okay. Moderate pressure, not super heavy. Probably more I needed. You run the lowest pressure you can get away with. It's not moving, that's a good sign. Okay. Need some air. Okay, so I'm going to take our dial indicator here and we're going to go ahead and spin it around and see what we got. First thing I'll do is see how flat this thing is. First, gotta get close to our center point. Okay, go ahead and zero that in. Okay, let's go out here and see what we got here. You want to keep the pressure as low as you can so that it'll not change as you go across the surfaces here. Zero right there. 2 down right there. 2 down over there. 1 up over there. And we are 2 up over there. So that's what you call it, not very flat. Not unexpected. So you see that's like 3, 4 up right there. It's a low spot right there. 0 right there. And over here, we're 1. So the biggest thing is we're 1 on that side. And we're about 2 or 3 on this side. 3. So that's down 3, and this was up 1. Yeah, that's up 1 on that side. So that's 4 thou. Okay, so we're 4 thou difference from here over there. Next thing is we're at 0 on this side, and we were about 4 on this side, I think, wasn't it? Yeah, we're about 4 on that side. And that is high on this side. So to correct that, you're 4 up. That side's 4 higher, so this has to come up 4 here, and this is 4 higher, 4 lower than that side, so you come up 4 on this side. Because this was low. Yeah, this is low. So that means it gets tricky. So this whole thing has come up 4 and means you rotate to make it all perfect. That's because something's not machined flat. See where this surface is off, or all of this stuff here is off, or this stuff's all warped. Who knows how it was machined? So I either say screw it and just go with what I got flat, or do I try to make it better? Which one do you think I'm going to do? Yeah, we know what we're going to do. I'm going to make it better. Okay, so how much are we going to push it to do what we need? Now we know we're pulling this down right now because it goes up in the air automatically. So when I undid the clamp, change half of that. Undo this clamp, change 4. Okay, that's way up on that side. That's 6 or 7 up there, and over here we're low. So this side still needs to come up quite a bit. So you get a feeler gauge under here and bring that up. Over here, this side needs to actually go down a little bit. This side goes up. Okay, so we got to put a feeler gauge in and see what we need. So that's why we use feeler gauge. So the first thing I do is get rid of the pressure. We know we need about that much. So what are we looking at here? 5 is not doing it. Tight 4. Okay, so tight 4 sounds like a good number to use to me. Now, do we put the feeler gauge way out here, or do we put it inside where the pressure's at? You should put it underneath where your pressure out, so you don't cause it to do this. So that means we need to pull that out and check this side. And 4 is a little tighter right there, but it's probably okay. It's definitely tighter though. A little pressure on that, and it pulls down a little bit when I do that. Not unexpected. And that pulls it down over there too. So that means we need to go up higher. So we're going to add 2 thou to that. It drops a bunch. So we're going to go up to 6. Let's go all the way to 7. I think it's going to take more than I think it's going to take. Okay, there's 7 in there. Here's our 4 we're looking for, and I have tension on that. We're at 4 there, 4 there, and we're at 2 over there. So I need to come up 1.5 thou on that one. We don't know what it's at right now. So these are 1.5 thou shim. That goes in there pretty easily. A little low right now. Okay, so we'll fold it in half, which will give me 3 thou. Let's see if I can get that in there. in there. Pressure there, but not real heavy. Okay, that is, looks like 4 over there right now. Okay, turn the light off and maybe see the indicator better, I'm not sure. Okay, that's about 3.5 or 4 right there, I'm thinking. Definitely a hard 4 there. A little bit lower 4 there. I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on this one. That's pretty tight. Don't want to go any more on that if I don't have to. And we're 4, and we're a high 4 there. And we are probably 3.5 over there, I'm guessing. I can't see the backside very well. We're a good solid 4 right there. A little heavy on the 4 there too. And what do we got on this side? And we went up to 6 on this side. Because if we raise this side up, we're pivoting way over here, so you raise that up, that's going to go up. And it did. Okay, so we're now at 6 over here. So instead of being a 4 thou difference, now we're 2 thou difference on the other side. So that means we need to go further. So that means we need to go up another 4 if we're going the same proportion rate increase. We'll have to increase everything by the same numbers. Okay, so let me get my other feeler gauge. Feeler gauges come in handy for more things than just measuring stuff with. They get good shim stock. Adjustable shim stock, very important. Okay, so we're going to loosen this one up. Okay, this one we had at 7. So we're going to go to an 11. 11. Okay, this one over here is at 3. We went up 4, so 3 and 4 is 7. And we were a little low on that side too, remember? So we're going to go up to 8. Let's see, going the wrong direction, and 9, there's 8 right there. Let's stuff that right into here. The back side, not the front side. Problem, feeler gauge won't fit in here. Okay. Pressure. Little pressure. All right, let's see what we got this time. Okay, let's see how close we were. Definitely went up a lot higher. Okay, this one here we're probably at 8. This one here we're at 8, a little over 8. Not 8.5, but 8. This one here we're at 6.5. 7, what do we got? We're about 7. That's 7. So this side's at 7. And this side was at 8, I think, wasn't it? No, it's at 7.5. It's right in the middle. So that side's a little bit heavier than we need to be. That's over 8, 8.25. Right there, we're at 7.5 probably. 7.5. Okay. And over here, about 8.25. 8.25, almost 8.5. 8.5 right there. All right, so now we're within 1 thou being flat all the way across. and maybe within half. All right, and it's tight. See, the indicator's not moving as I twitch around on this, which is a good thing. So when you put pressure here, it moves a little bit, but see how much pressure it takes to make a change? I'm putting about 15-20 pounds of pressure right there. See, it changed it to half a thou. This here only weighs a couple pounds. And even that makes a difference by a tenth. So that's what I mean, warpage. Things change around. You put heat in there, it changes again. Okay, so right now we are perfectly square across this surface, assuming that this surface is square to the bearing hole. And considering this bolts onto the transmission, I would say this is the surface that matters more than the surface on the bottom down here, which does not bolt the tranny. It bolts primary cover. So this is the important one for up here. So we're going to come off that so we're square. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and measure this hole and see where we're at. Alright, I'll be back.